The story begins at the stroke of midnight. A man named Mac is sprinting through the dark streets of the city, his body torn open and bleeding, desperately trying to escape a police pursuit closing in on him from every direction, with nowhere left to run. He stumbles into a narrow alleyway and collapses against the wall. Rather than breaking down in fear, he lets out a slow, hollow laugh, the laugh of a man who has accepted this is the end. He tells himself there is no escape left. But just as that thought settles, something happens that defies every law of nature. The blood spilling from his wounds lifts off the ground and begins floating in the air around him. And then, from the shadows, a man wearing a dark, mysterious hoodie steps forward and stands before him. The stranger's voice is calm, almost casual, as he makes his offer. "Give me your loyalty, and I will keep you alive." Mac has no cards left to play. He agrees without hesitation. The hooded man reaches down and lifts Mac from the ground using nothing but raw and natural strength. Then something violent and blinding tears through Mac's body. He glows with an overwhelming light and lets out a scream of pure, agonizing pain. When the police finally reach the alleyway moments later, there is no sign of either man. Nothing remains except streaks of blood. What comes next is not a scene from the city streets. It is something far worse. Across the city, people begin dropping dead at the hands of creatures that should not exist, monstrous. And natural things move through the streets, while the hooded man stands completely still in the middle of it all, watching the destruction unfold around him without a single change in expression. Enormous walls of fire rise up and reduce everything to ash. Buildings collapse. The city burns. But then, just as suddenly as it began, this entire nightmare is revealed to be a vision. A vision seen by a monk named Chan, who wakes from it in a state of immediate urgency. Without wasting a single moment, he gathers his belongings and goes directly to his guru. He delivers a warning that carries the weight of his entire life behind it. His father, a man known as a necromancer, has returned. Chen tells his guru plainly that he must leave at once to stop him before it is too late. The story then moves to a man named Jake, who has arrived in Bangkok with his wife Prank and the young daughter Lou for a family vacation. On the surface, everything looks like a normal holiday. But Jake is not really present, even here, far from home. His phone never leaves his hand. Office calls, work messages, constant distractions. He is physically standing with his family while his mind is somewhere else entirely. Prank has run out of patience. She confronts him and reminds him that his family is right in front of him, that they came here together, and that his attention belongs to them. Jake apologizes and promises to be different. He puts the phone away, and then, almost immediately, he turns round and Lou is gone. Lou is gone. The two parents begin searching the city with rising panic, checking every corner, every street, every crowd. They eventually find her on a bridge, completely calm, talking to a stranger. That stranger is Chan. Jake and Prank scold Lou for wandering off and thank Chan for staying with her. But the interaction quickly takes an uncomfortable turn. Chan already knows Jake's name. He already knows his face. He speaks as though this meeting was never a coincidence. Telling Jake they were always destined to cross paths, Chen explains Jake was born at a specific, rare moment under a blood moon, at the exact crossing point between life and death. Because of this, Chen calls him the keeper of the gates. He warns Jake the road ahead will be filled with suffering, and that he may lose everything he holds dear. Jake dismisses him as unstable, walking away with his family. Some time later, the family is at a shopping mall. Lou spills ice cream. Prank takes her to the restroom. But at the exact same time, Mac walks into the mall. He moves with deliberate, focused purpose. He spots a target, distracts him with a lollipop, closes the distance, pulls out a gun, and shoots. The sound of that gunshot tears through the mall like a thunderclap within seconds. Pure terror erupts. Mac begins firing indiscriminately at shoppers, employees, anyone in his path. People are cut down before understanding. The crowd floods toward exits in blind panic. Jake pushes against it, fighting his way back toward his family. He finds them, tells Prank and Lou to stay inside the bathroom, lock the door, and not to come out. He tells them he has to help the people still trapped inside. A police officer named Rad has entered the mall. Jake moves through corridors carefully, using cover, keeping himself out of Mac's line of sight, and quietly signaling other survivors to stay hidden. Then Mac finds a bloody doll somewhere on the floor and becomes fixated on it. Jake recognizes the opportunity. He steps out of cover, levels his weapon, and tells Mac to drop his gun. What comes back is not the reaction of a man who is afraid. Mac looks at Jake with total emptiness, completely unbothered, as if the gun pointed at him is nothing more than a minor inconvenience. He raises the doll and begins speaking through it in a slow, unsettling, childlike voice. Jake repeats his warning: surrender or be shot. Mac opens fire. Jake dives back behind cover. A young girl nearby tries to use her phone to call for help. The moment Mac notices her, he shoots her without hesitation. Outside the mall, a full emergency response has assembled. Police units and fire crews surrounding the entire building. Jake starts shouting at Mac, deliberately provoking him, using sharp words designed to pull Mac's attention away. It works. The moment Mac shifts his focus, Jake fires. Mac goes down to one knee. Officer Rad moves in his backup. But Mac does not stay down. He rises slowly, looking no different than before. No pain on his face, no urgency, nothing. He turns to Jake almost warmly and thanks him. He says that his purpose is complete and the Keeper has returned. And then Mac's body catches fire from the inside. The flames consume him. He detonates like a bomb. The entire mall shakes from the force of the explosion. The thick black smoke rising above the building coals and twists into the shape of an enormous screaming skull. And across the city, fire begins to spread. Prank and Lou are thrown outward by the blast and find themselves outside. But what they find there is not safety. The streets have become something out of a nightmare. People everywhere are attacking one another with complete abandon. A firefighter is stabbing a man with a knife. Cars are slamming into each other. Everything is burning. There is no logic to any of it. No pattern. Just violence. With no safe route forward, Prank pulls Lou back into the mall. They move carefully through what remains of it. What they see inside is just as bad. A man drives another person's head repeatedly into a counter. A body is slumped over the front. Desk, then a screaming. Frenzied attacker charges out of a darkened corner and comes straight at them. Prank grabs a store mannequin and swings it hard, crushing the attacker with its plastic arm. They run. More attackers follow. They reach the escalators. Prank makes a split-second decision. She lifts Lou onto the side rail and sends her sliding down, while she turns to hold off the mob. On the stairs, swinging the mannequin arm at anyone who gets close. Lou reaches the bottom safely, but a man immediately grabs her. Prank throws herself down the rest of the stairs, takes out one attacker and kills another, and reaches her daughter. They run together toward a set of exit doors outside. A bus has pulled up. The driver steps off and is immediately set upon. A violent fight breaks. Out round the bus, Prank grabs Lou and tries to find any way through the surrounding chaos. After what feels like an eternity of running, ducking, and hiding, they find a grocery store and slip inside. Prank's phone is completely dead. She keeps Lou hidden and moves carefully toward the store's landline telephone, passing the front counter without noticing the body resting behind it until she is already beside it. She picks up the phone, dead. Then the front door opens. A large, erratic man enters the store. He begins knocking items from the shelves, walking slowly through the aisles, checking the body at the counter, scanning the room carefully for any sign of life. Lou is tucked out of sight, barely breathing, but then a body slams against the front window from outside. She makes a sound of fear. The man's head turns. He sees her. He moves toward her. Prank comes up from behind and kills him. Back inside what remains of the mall, Jake regains consciousness. His colleague Eric is beside him, also coming round. Both of them are confused and shaken. They were standing close to the center of that explosion. Yet here they are, alive and intact, without a scratch. The area around them is strangely quiet and empty. No wreckage, no bodies, no sign of the chaos that just happened. Jake notices a figure standing at the far end of a corridor, but the moment he blinks, it is gone. Eric hears a sound coming from somewhere deeper in the mall and goes to investigate. He finds a woman standing with her back to him, holding a knife, when she slowly turns round. Her face is wrong, distorted, terrifying. She slaps him across the room and drives the knife into him. He is dead before he hits the ground. Jake raises his gun and fires at her. The bullets hit and do absolutely nothing. She turns her attention to him and attacks. They struggle, and Jake manages to strike her across the head. Knocking her down, Jake runs. He does not get far before she is back on her feet, hunting him through the corridors. Then her body begins to change. Her arms and legs stretch outward unnaturally. She flips upward, walking across the ceiling above him, scanning the ground below for any movement. Jake stays low and silent, moving from shadow to shadow. She finds him anyway, reaches down from the ceiling and drags him upward. He fires again. Nothing. She raises her knife. To finish it, he kicks free, hits the ground running, and sprints through the mall. He reaches the restroom and finds it empty. His family is gone. He searches through the rest of the building and notices that all the food in every vendor stall has rotted completely. As if years have passed in a matter of hours, the woman attacks once more. Jake grabs a chair and swings hard enough to knock her back, then traps her using a length of hanging wire and a heavy decorative piece from a nearby display. He strikes her over and over. Nothing works. She simply absorbs every blow. He leaves her there restrained and runs. Outside, Prank and Lou have made it back to the bus station, but it is still consumed by violence. They get low and crawl beneath the bus to stay out of sight. From underneath the bus, Lou spots a car not far away where a small group of unaffected, terrified people are waving and calling out. She watches and waits for the right gap, then sprints toward them. The driver explains that he can get everyone out of here in the bus, but the key fell outside during the chaos and no one has been able to retrieve it safely. Without hesitating, Prank runs back out. Two crazed attackers grab her immediately and try to pull her back. Lou screams and lunges toward her mother, but she cannot hold on. A brave passenger from the car throws himself into the fight, pulls the attackers off Prank and beats them back. Prank makes it to her daughter and pushes the key into the driver's hand. The bus finally starts moving, but the heroic passenger who saved Prank's life is overtaken by the mob and killed before he can reach the door. The bus cannot go far before abandoned and crash vehicles block the road. Prank and Lou are on foot again. They eventually make it back to their hotel. Inside, there are bodies. Upstairs in the corridor, Prank witnesses a man attacking a woman and then turning toward her. She grabs a trolley bag, uses it as a battering shield, and drives the attacker back hard enough to knock him off his feet. At the end of the same hallway, she swings a bottle against another man's head and drops him. She gets Lou inside their room, locks the door, for the first time since the mall. They have four walls round them. When Prank looks out the window, she sees the entire skyline of the city wrapped in fire. Back inside the ruined mall, Dick is walking alone through the silence. Every screen in the building is shattered. He spots the woman he tied up, still alive. She is still searching for him, moving from room to room. Then she steps into what looks like a swirling portal made entirely of blood and disappears through it. Jake looks at it, and then he walks in after her. The portal drops him at the bus station, but it is completely empty now, utterly abandoned. The bus station is frozen in an unnatural stillness. Jake looks up toward the rooftop of a nearby building, and what he sees stops him cold. A massive demonic figure stands on the edge of it, towering above everything, so enormously powerful that when it takes a single step it crushes the bus beneath its foot like paper. Jake runs. He runs harder than he has ever run in his life, sprinting through the streets while the demon moves through the city behind him. Toppling buildings with casual, effortless force, Jake throws himself into a car and tries to drive, but the road behind him is disappearing as buildings collapse across it. Then a door appears to his left and Chan's hand reaches through and pulls him in. Jake finds himself inside Chan's temple. Chan looks at him steadily and tells him the truth. He says that Jake is no longer in the world he knows. He is in a place called the Hindrance, a realm that exists between heaven and hell. A holding place filled with souls that are lost and cannot move on. And then Chan tells him what. Jake is the gatekeeper. When he shot Mac with his own hands inside that mall, he unknowingly completed a ritual that had been carefully arranged. Chan reveals that his father, the necromancer, orchestrated everything. He gave Mac supernatural power for one specific purpose, so that when Jake killed him, the precise condition required to open the gates of hell would be fulfilled. The gates opened, and now demons are pouring through and possessing the bodies of living people back on Earth. But Chan is not finished. He tells Jake that the same power that made him the one to open the gate also makes him the only one who can close it. Jake cannot accept what he is hearing. Chan pushes forward. He tells Jake that he was born under a blood moon, and that his mother died at the exact moment he entered the world. Jake does not want to hear any of this. He only wants to know where his family is. Chan tells him that the only way to protect them, the only way to protect anyone, is to close the gate first. They do not have time to argue about it. The demon is growing more powerful with every soul it consumes, and their first move must be to find Mac. As they make their way through the Hindrance, Chan shares his own story. His father was once a monk, a man of discipline and knowledge. But greed rotted him from the inside. He stole sacred scrolls that were never meant to be touched, and used them to practice black magic. Eventually, the darkness consumed his physical form entirely, and left him as a pure, disembodied malevolent soul. He tried to take over Chan's body to give himself a vessel, but Chan's mother intervened and stopped him. The necromancer's soul was forcibly expelled. But the experience gave Chan a rare understanding of how to move between worlds. Jake suddenly stops. He spots a woman on a rooftop above them, completely surrounded by menacing demons. Chan tells him to ignore it, as they have no time to spare. But Jake does not listen. He grabs an iron rod and begins to climb toward the rooftop, fighting through several grotesque demons. He throws them from the building as he ascends. When he reaches the woman, he recognizes her immediately. She is the same woman from the mall, the one who attacked him. Here, in the hindrance, she is weeping. She tells him through her grief that she betrayed her husband, and her guilt is why her soul cannot leave. Then a massive, grotesque demon materializes on the rooftop, its leathery wings unfurling, and begins tearing the structure apart. Jake grabs the woman and tries to pull her to safety, but the demon snatches her and swallows her whole. When Jake finds Chan again, he is visibly shaken. He tells Chan that the woman did not even know she was dead. The words hang in the air. Then Jake goes quiet because something clicks. He remembers the enormous explosion. He was standing right at the center of it. He looks at Chen and asks the question he has been avoiding. Chen answers honestly. Jake is dead. The blast killed him. Jake breaks down completely. Chen lets him grieve, then pulls him back. He tells Jake he is a lost soul, but different. There is still a way back to Earth. A shield exists that can carry him there. They move through the hindrance together, crossing through a city frozen in decay. A flying demon picks up their trail and follows them, its leathery wings beating silently. They duck into a dilapidated building, but it is crawling with smaller demons on every floor. The flying creature lands directly behind them, trapping them inside the demon-infested structure. Chen turns to face it, engaging the demons in hand-to-hand combat using swift martial arts. He drives them back and scatters them, creating an opening for them to escape deeper into the building. Jake and Chen climb through the building until they reach a theater at the top. Filled wall to wall with demons, they run straight for the screen at the front of the room. A desperate dash for survival, Chen tears open a portal, and they both throw themselves through it, landing back in the real world. On Earth, demons cannot walk freely. They need a body to possess. Jake looks into the nearest mirror. He sees that he is occupying Eric's body. The sight hits him like a physical blow. He stares at himself in someone else's face and has to force himself to keep moving. Chan hands him an old gun loaded with special bullets, the only kind that can stop Mac, and a special knife capable of killing him permanently. The fight for survival continues. At the same moment, Mac has found Prank and Lou. He is walking down inside Jake's body. He has gone to their hotel room. Prank and Lou are desperate with worry about Jake. They are relieved to see his face, but something feels wrong from the very first second. Mac cannot speak to them normally. He only stares, looking at Jake's real form with contempt. When Lou asks him questions, he gives her the burnt doll from the mall. Then the room phone rings. Mac answers it, and while he listens, he scribbles something down on a notepad. By the time Jake and Chan arrive at the hotel and reach the room, it is empty. Mac has already taken Prank and Lou somewhere else. All that is left are the doll and the note on the pad. Then Jake hears Lou scream. He looks through the window down toward the pool and sees her below. He runs. Prank and Lou are down by the pool, terrified and confused. The man standing in front of them looks like Jake, but has been acting nothing like him. Now this other stranger, Jake in Eric's body, is approaching them with urgent familiarity. Before Jake can reach his family, Mac comes up from behind and strikes him hard, dropping him to the ground. Mac grabs him and gets close to his face, mocking him, calling him a useless father who always chose work over the people who needed him. threatening to take his life and keep his family for himself. Jake keeps his head. He goads Mac with precisely chosen words, waiting for the right moment, then reverses the situation. A brutal fight breaks out between them. When Jake tries to use the special gun, Mac knocks it from his hand. They both go over the edge and into the pool. The fight continues underwater, violent and desperate. Jake gets hold of the special knife and is about to use it when everything stops. Prank has retrieved the gun from the edge of the pool and is pointing it at both of them, telling them not to move. Two men are treading water in front of her. Both of them are claiming to be her husband. Prank does not know what to believe or who to trust. Then Lou cuts through the confusion with a single question. She asks for the secret gesture her father always uses just between the two of them. Jake, inside Eric's body, performs it without hesitation. It is exactly right. Prank pulls the trigger, but in the chaos and the emotion of the moment, her aim is off. She hits Jake instead of Mac. The moment the bullet strikes, Jake's soul is ripped out of Eric's body and sent straight back into the hindrance, where a ghost immediately attacks him. In the real world, Mac steps out of the pool in Jake's body and takes the gun from Prank's hands. Lou screams at her mother that this is not her real father. A blood portal opens and tears across the wall behind them. Mac tells them to come with him. In the hindrance, Chan fights off the ghost and pulls Jake back to his feet. Jake still has the note Mac left behind, and reading it now reveals everything. Mac has been in direct contact with the necromancer, and has been working to locate the Gate of Hell. They follow the information in the note to a deserted structure deep in the jungle, where an enormous column of fire burns at the center of it, the unmistakable sign of the gate. In the real world, Mac has brought Prank and Lou to the exact same location. Standing there waiting for them is a masked man, the necromancer, present in the physical world at last. The massive demon is there too, looming over everything. Jake and Chan arrive and approach carefully. Chan opens a portal into the location. The necromancer moves fast, suspending Lou's body above the gate, holding her helpless. He prepares to kill her as the final act of his dark ritual. Jake throws himself into the location and stops it before he can finish. A fierce fight breaks out across the entire space. Jake uses his training, instincts, and special knife to cut through the necromancer's men. Mac enters the fight, coming at Jake with a special gun, trying to finish him. Jake avoids the shot and quickly disarms Mac. While they struggle, Prank breaks free and grabs the gun herself. She turns the gun on the necromancer, aiming to save Lou. But before she can fire cleanly, another attacker knocks into her. She drives a knife into him. Jake hurls his knife across the space, dropping another man charging toward him. Mac comes at Jake with a blade. Prank throws the gun to Jake. He catches it, turns, and fires. Mac goes down. Mac's soul is dragged back into the hindrance, where an enormous demon waits. The enormous demon swallows him whole. With Mac gone, Chan creates a diversion, pulling the necromancer's attention away. Jake drives the special knife into him from behind. As the necromancer falls, his power begins to leave him, whispering to Jake. The only way to close the gate permanently is for Jake to walk through it himself. Chan bows his head, admitting there is no other answer. Jake takes a long moment. Then he accepts it. He turns to Prank and Lou, speaking to them quietly. He apologizes for every hour he spent buried in work instead of being with them, for every moment he took for granted, for all the time he promised himself he would make up to them later. He holds them both one last time. Then he turns and walks through the gate of fire. On the other side, the flames take him. His body burns away, and the gate closes. The world outside is still again. The demons recede. The possessed return to themselves. The fire across the city dies down. Prank takes Lou to her grandmother's house where she will be safe. And as she leaves, Prank makes herself a quiet, unshakable promise. She will find a way to bring her husband back. The story ends here.